Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast. Today, I want to start with a scenario that I think is going to feel uncomfortably familiar to a lot of our listeners. You're on a Zoom call. Maybe it's a client pitch. Maybe it's a quarterly review with your boss. You are 3 sentences into the most important point of the presentation, and suddenly, click. The screen goes black, the router lights die, the room just goes silent.
Oh, it's the absolute worst feeling.
Isn't it?
That stomach drop.
Exactly, the stomach drop. And in that moment, you aren't thinking about infrastructure or, grid resilience. You are just thinking, I'm in big trouble.
Uh-huh.
So today, we're going to talk about the solution to that anxiety. We're looking at a piece of hardware that has traditionally been kind of stuck in the garage with the camping gear portable power stations. But, and I want to be a little skeptical here right off the bat, are we just talking about glorified batteries for tailgating? Because that's honestly how I usually see them marketed.
That is the common perception, yeah. But we're going to flip that script today. We're looking at a really comprehensive review called EcoFlow Review: Why So Many Americans Trust These Power Stations by Felix Römer from SmartKeys.org. And the argument Felix makes, and that we're going to unpack, is that these aren't camping toys anymore. They're essential business infrastructure.
Infrastructure is a heavy word.
It is, but look at the landscape. If you're a remote worker or a freelancer or anyone running a digital workflow these days, the grid isn't exactly getting more reliable. Storms are getting more intense. Rolling blackouts are becoming a reality for a lot of people in California, Texas, and well beyond.
So the mission today is to analyze this technology, specifically the shift from those, loud, smelly gas generators to these silent battery ecosystems. We need to figure out if achieving energy independence is actually a real productivity strategy or if it's just prepper paranoia.
It's definitely not paranoia.
Yeah.
Think about it strategically. If your power goes out for 4 hours, what happens to your deadlines?
Right.
What happens to your billable hours? This technology is about securing your workflow against that instability.
Okay, so let's dig into the source material. To understand where EcoFlow is today, we actually have to look at where they came from. I was really surprised to learn this isn't a company that started out making, lawnmower engines or industrial equipment.
No, and this is such a crucial detail that Felix points out because it explains their entire design philosophy. EcoFlow's engineering DNA actually comes from the drone industry, specifically a group of engineers from DJI.
The drone guys.
The drone guys.
Okay, so help me connect the dots here.
Yeah.
I mean, how does building a flying camera translate to this heavy box that just sits on my floor?
It's all about density and intelligence.
Yeah.
Think about what a drone needs. It has to be incredibly light or it won't fly.
Sure.
It needs to be hyper efficient. And most importantly, the battery management system, the BMS, has to be incredibly sophisticated. If a drone battery fails or miscalculates its power delivery at 400 feet, you don't just lose power. Your device literally falls out of the sky and breaks.
Right. You can't just strap a heavy, dumb lead-acid battery to a quadcopter.
Precisely. So when these engineers pivoted to portable power stations, they brought that drone philosophy with them. They weren't trying to build a generator. They're building a high-tech energy device. That's why their units tend to be lighter, denser, and have these really advanced digital displays compared to the old school industrial bricks we used to see.
And that leads us to the actual problem they are solving. I think everyone has a memory of a power outage where someone in the neighborhood fires up a gas generator.
Oh, the sound of the suburbs in a crisis.
It sounds like a lawnmower running in your living room.
Yeah.
Except, of course, you definitely can't keep it inside because of the carbon monoxide.
Right. Traditional power is noisy, it's dirty, and it requires constant maintenance. You have to change the oil, you have to stabilize the fuel. If it sits for 6 months, it's a hassle. The solution EcoFlow, and this whole category of tech, really offers is clean, silent, indoor, safe power.
You can put this thing literally under your desk while you work.
Exactly. You can't do that with a Honda generator.
So who is this actually for? The review mentions campers, which is the obvious one, but it feels like the use case has expanded way beyond that.
It has.
Yeah.
Felix highlights a few key personas that I think are really interesting. You've got the remote workers. It's probably many of you listening right now who need that internet and laptop uptime. But it's also professionals on job sites.
Like construction.
Exactly. If you're a contractor running saws and drills, you usually have to run 100 feet of extension cord to the nearest outlet or fire up a gas generator. Bringing a battery station to where the work is, that's a huge efficiency gain.
And the source also mentions overlanders, the digital nomads.
People living out of vans or RVs who need to edit video or, write code from the middle of a national park. For them, this isn't backup power. This is their primary power.
Okay, I want to get into the weeds of the technology because the review mentions a shift in battery chemistry that sounds like technical jargon, but the way Felix describes it, it sounds like it might be the single most important factor for a buyer.
It absolutely is. If you zone out for the rest of this deep dive, pay attention to this part. It's the difference between buying a toy and buying an asset. We need to talk about LFP versus NMC.
Okay, lay it on me. What's the difference?
So older portable power stations, and a lot of the cheaper ones you still see online, use lithium-ion batteries with NMC chemistry. That stands for nickel, manganese, cobalt.
That's the standard stuff, right? Like what's in my phone?
Exactly. And it's great for weight. It's very energy dense. But think of NMC like a sprinter. It's fast, it's light, but it burns out.
Burns out how?
Cycle life. An NMC battery might be rated for, say, 500 to 800 cycles. A cycle is fully charging and discharging the unit. After that, the battery health degrades significantly. It might drop to 80% capacity or even lower.
So if I'm using this every day as a remote worker or living in a van, 500 days is less than 2 years.
Right. After 2 years, your expensive power station is basically an old iPhone that dies at noon, becomes e-waste.
And LFP.
LFP stands for lithium iron phosphate. Think of LFP as the marathon runner. It's a little bit heavier, but it just keeps going. The review points out that these EcoFlow LFP batteries are rated for roughly 3,000 cycles before they hit that 80% capacity mark.
Wait. So you're saying 500 cycles versus 3,000?
3,000, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a 6x increase in lifespan.
That changes the math entirely.
It does.
Yeah.
Instead of a disposable gadget that wears out in 2 years, you are buying a long-term asset. You could use this thing every single day for nearly a decade, and it would still work great. For a business or for someone looking at the ROI of this purchase, LFP is really the only choice that makes sense.
I'm glad we clarified that. So LFP is the durability. But there's another feature the source calls a killer feature, and that is speed. They call it extreme technology.
This is my favorite part of the strategic case for EcoFlow. Extreme allows these units to charge from 0 to 80% in under an hour.
From a wall outlet.
Just from a standard wall outlet.
But I have to play devil's advocate here. If I'm plugging this in overnight to prep for a camping trip, does it really matter if it takes 1 hour or 6? I'm asleep anyway.
In a calm, planned scenario.
Yeah.
No, you're right. But we aren't talking about camping. We are talking about business continuity during a crisis. Think about a severe storm scenario.
Okay.
Let's say you're dealing with rolling blackouts. Or maybe a storm has knocked out lines and the power is just flickering. The power goes out for 4 hours. You're running your fridge, your router, your laptop off the battery. You drain it down to, say, 20%.
Right.
Suddenly the grid comes back on. But you have no idea for how long. It might stay on for an hour before another tree falls on a line.
I see where you're going with this.
If you have a slow charging unit, one of those older models that takes 6 or 8 hours to charge, that 1 hour of grid power gets you maybe 15% battery back.
Not much.
No. When the power cuts again, you're basically dead in the water. You have no buffer.
But with extreme.
With extreme, that 1 hour is enough to blast the battery back up to 80% or 90%. You have fully refueled during that brief window of opportunity. It minimizes your downtime vulnerability.
Wow.
That is a massive strategic advantage.
That's a really compelling point. It turns the device from just a storage tank into a rapid response tool.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the hardware lineup. The review breaks it down into an ecosystem. We have the River series and the Delta series. What's the quick distinction there?
It's basically size and use case. Think of the River series as grab and go. These are the ultra-portable ones.
Okay.
You throw it in the back seat. It's for keeping cameras charged, laptops running at a coffee shop, maybe a day trip. It's light enough to carry with one hand.
And the Delta series.
The Deltas are the heavy lifters.
Yep.
This is where you get into expandable capacity. The Delta Pro, for instance, can scale from a standard unit all the way up to 25 kilowatt hours.
25 kilowatt hours.
Yeah. That is whole home potential. You can tie that into your breaker box and run your air conditioning.
The source material does a really interesting comparison between two specific models, the older Delta 1300 and the new Delta 3 Plus. And I think this illustrates just how fast this tech is moving.
It really does. The Delta 1300 is described as the old reliable. It's a tank. It uses that older NMC chemistry we talked about. It's heavy, over 30 pounds, and it charges slower on solar. But it has a huge capacity, about 1,260 watt hours.
And the Delta 3 Plus is the modern contender.
Right. It's lighter, around 27 pounds. It has the LFP chemistry for long life. It has that super fast charging. And crucially, it has much better solar input, supporting up to 1,000 watts.
1,000 watts of solar.
1,000 watts. That means if you have enough panels, you can charge it from the sun incredibly fast.
And I love that Felix included this in the review because it adds a lot of credibility. There is a gotcha. It's not all perfect.
No, and this is important for our audience, especially if you're a content creator or work in audio. The review notes that the Delta 3 Plus has some inconsistent fan behavior.
This is the noise issue.
Yes, because they are packing so much power and such fast charging into a smaller, lighter box. Heat management is a real challenge.
Right.
So the fans have to ramp up. The review mentions they can be a bit erratic or noisy under a heavy load, especially compared to the predictable hum of the older models.
So if I'm recording a podcast like this,
You probably don't want the Delta 3 Plus fast charging right next to your microphone. It might sound like a jet engine taking off.
that is exactly the kind of nuance you just don't get from reading a spec sheet.
Exactly.
Let's pivot to the strategic value for business. We've talked about the hardware, the muscle, but what about the brain? The source mentions that software is a huge differentiator here.
This is where EcoFlow really starts to look more like a Silicon Valley tech company than a hardware manufacturer. The app integration is profound. It allows for set and forget management.
One feature that really stood out to me was StormGuard. That sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's brilliant. The app actually connects to the internet and monitors the weather forecast for your specific location.
It watches the weather for you.
Yes. If it sees a severe storm warning or a freeze warning issued for your zip code, it automatically changes the battery's behavior. It prioritizes charging to 100% and disables other non-essential discharges. It literally preps itself for a blackout without you having to touch it.
That is incredible. It completely removes the human error element of, forgetting to charge the battery.
It does. And then for the remote worker, the key operational feature is pass-through charging.
Explain that for us.
Pass-through charging means you can have the unit plugged into the wall and your computer plugged into the unit. The electricity flows from the wall, through the battery, to your computer.
So it acts like a UPS and uninterruptible power supply.
Exactly. If the grid cuts out, the battery instantly takes over. The transfer time is usually less than 30 milliseconds. Your desktop computer doesn't shut down. You don't lose your unsaved work. Your internet router stays on. It's a seamless transition.
And for anyone doing critical work, that is non-negotiable.
Absolutely.
Okay, we have to talk about the price. Because these things are not cheap. There is definitely an EcoFlow premium.
There is. If you compare the price per watt hour against competitors like Bluetti or Jackery, EcoFlow often comes out a bit more expensive. You're paying for that extreme speed, the polished app, and the whole ecosystem.
But the source material has a fantastic insider tip on how to mitigate that cost. And frankly, this section felt like the most valuable hack in the whole article.
Oh, absolutely. This is the financial unlock. So EcoFlow sells their own branded portable solar panels. They're beautiful pieces of engineering. They fold up into a nice carrying case. They're durable. They have kickstands.
But they are pricey?
Very pricey. A branded 400-watt folding panel can cost around $700.
Whoa.
However, the review points out that you don't have to use their panels. The EcoFlow units use standard solar connectors.
So you can just buy other ones?
You can go out and buy third-party residential panels.
You mean the big rigid ones that go on rooftops?
Exactly. The big glass sheets. You can find a 415-watt rigid panel for something like $187.
Okay, wait, hold on a second. You're saying $700 versus, what, under $200?
Under $200 for basically the same wattage.
For the same amount of power, that's insane.
It is a massive price difference. Now, you have to understand the trade-off. You're not hiking with a residential solar panel. It weighs 50 pounds and is made of glass. It doesn't fold.
Right, it's awkward. It's not portable.
It's not. But if you're a homeowner setting up a backup system for your office, you don't need that portability. You just need it to sit in the backyard or maybe mount to a shed roof.
That is such a smart distinction.
Strategically, the move is to buy the premium EcoFlow unit because you want that smart battery and the fast charging, but then buy the dumb commoditized glass panels for the solar input. You get the best performance for a fraction of the total system cost.
That is the kind of advice that actually saves people money. I love that. So we've covered the tech, the software, and the cost. I want to look at the future. If someone is listening to this and thinking, okay, I'm sold, I need to get one, how do they decide what to buy?
The source offers a very grounded strategy here. Don't just buy the biggest unit blindly. It's tempting to get the monster size because more is better.
Mhm.
But it's expensive and it's heavy.
So you need to do the math.
You have to do the math. Calculate your essential load. The review gives a great example. A typical modern fridge draws about 100 to 150 watts on average.
Okay.
A 1,000 to 1,500 watt-hour station like the Delta 2 or the Delta 3 will give you roughly 6 to 12 hours of fridge runtime.
Which covers most average power outages.
Exactly. If you just need to keep the lights on and the food cold overnight, you don't need a $4,000 system. You need a $1,000 system. Buy for the essential load to keep the budget manageable.
And that ties back to the modularity, right? You don't have to buy it all at once.
That is the beauty of the ecosystem approach.
Yeah.
You can start with a standard Delta unit. If a year later you realize, hey, I actually need to run this for 2 days, not one, you can just buy an extra battery that plugs right into the side.
So you don't have to replace the whole thing.
No, you don't have to throw away the first unit and upgrade. You just expand. It lowers the barrier to entry significantly.
It's a very smart way to build resilience over time. Looking at the bigger picture, we saw that graphic in the source notes about 5 emerging remote work roles. Things like AI prompt operations specialist and cloud security automation engineer.
Right. And what do all those roles have in common?
They are completely digital.
They are 100% digital, and they are high stakes. If a cloud security engineer drops offline in the middle of a breach response because a tree fell on a power line, that isn't just an inconvenience. That's a catastrophe.
It's a failure to deliver.
It is. It really emphasizes that as work evolves, our personal infrastructure has to evolve too. We used to think of office infrastructure as something the company provided, the building, the backup generators, the IT closet.
Right.
But now, if you are the office, you are responsible for that infrastructure.
That's a heavy realization. We are effectively becoming our own utility companies, just on a micro scale.
In a way, yes. Personal energy independence is becoming just as important as having a fast laptop or a good internet connection. It is the foundation of reliability. And tools like these EcoFlow stations are what make that feasible for the average person. It really democratizes that reliability.
Well, this has certainly been an illuminating look at what I used to think was just a fancy battery. It turns out it's a strategic asset for anyone who relies on a digital workflow.
It really is. And honestly, having one just brings a peace of mind that is hard to quantify until the lights actually go out and your screen stays on.
Absolutely. Well, we want to thank you for tuning in to this deep dive on the SmartKeys podcast. We hope this helps you power up your productivity, literally.
And if you want to see the charts, the comparisons, and specifically that math on the solar panels we talked about, because seeing the numbers really helps, you really should check out Felix Römer's full review.
Yes, definitely. The link is right there in the show notes. Please go give it a read. And if you enjoyed this discussion, hit that subscribe button. We have a lot more coming up on the future of work and the sauce tools that are shaping it.
Thanks for listening.
Stay powered up. We'll see you next time.